Is the LEGO Technic all-terrain vehicle set number 4139 the single greatest set of 2022? Let's find out. The set has so many features and incredible mechanisms. We even get a gearbox. Finally! But first, let's start with the box. It just shows some of the features of the set, nothing too special. Let's open it up and see what's inside. We get 3 numbered bags, a sticker sheet, the instructions, as well as 6 Jeep Wrangler tires. The building process starts with the 2-cylinder engine. It is definitely one of the smallest ones we have seen in a Technic set. We come to the best part immediately after that, when we put the driving ring for the 2-speed transmission. The 2 gear ratios are 1/1 as well as 5/3. Next, we build the following beam structure and we attach it to the engine portion, expanding the chassis. We need to connect the following structure in order to allow some articulation to take place. We build the changeover catch holder and we connect it to the gearbox. Make sure to align the switch with the driving ring so that the gearbox properly works. The following ratchet mechanism will be responsible for the winch. It is very basic and it just uses a rubber band. We connect it to the engine, add some additional gears, and secure the winch. Now we can clearly see the mechanism in action. It is very simple but also quite effective. Here's the steering mechanism, and as you can see, it does not use a traditional gear rack setup. The mechanism is pretty interesting but does not allow for a small turning radius. Fortunately, there isn't much mechanical backlash here. The mechanism connects to the main chassis, and now we can clearly see the hand of God steering in action. We need to connect a pair of shock absorbers onto a Technic frame, which is then secured to the chassis. It is important to note that the suspension here is not independent, nor is it live axle. You cannot completely press down the vehicle, only push either the right or left side. Now the first bag is complete. We begin the second stage by expanding the chassis with the following Technic frame, and we simply drop in a differential here. We do the same thing once more, and this is where you need to verify the orientation of the differentials. They must be facing the opposite directions, otherwise it will be impossible to roll the vehicle forwards. The following module will reinforce the top portion of the chassis, and we simply connect it right over here. Here comes a very interesting part. This tiny shrimpy little module is actually responsible for the dumping function. Very basic mechanism, but also pretty interesting. The rear axles are now secured with some shock absorbers, and just like the front axle, the suspension is not independent, nor is it live axle. A few panels are connected like so, and placed on the dumper on top of the set. The second bag is complete. The third stage begins with the headlights. This part is all about decorations and the finer details. We add a few more panels, and now a seat is added. It connects in a pretty interesting way. The steering handlebars are built and are connected to the set itself. We can now clearly see the mechanism in action. We finish off the set by adding some panels to the cargo holder. We then build the accessories like the wood logs as well as the functional chainsaw, which actually has a moving chain. The 6 wheels are added, and we can finally take a look at the functions of the model. The best feature of the set is easily the 2-speed transmission. I have connected a powered up large motor to the drivetrain and watched the speed of the engine carefully. This is the second speed, where the engine is the slowest. This is the neutral, and here we have the first speed, where the engine is the fastest per the number of rotations of the wheels. It's not a complex transmission like you'd see in the supercars or even the Ducati motorcycle. It is very basic and uses this exact setup. The gear ratios are here on the screen. If you love LEGO Technic as much as I do, and you would like to get my reviews of the upcoming Technic sets extremely early like the telehandler, then make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. If you subscribe, you're an absolute legend. Next, we have the dumping function. It does not use a linear actuator or anything interesting like that. It just has a combination of lift arms that push on the cargo holder. This feature is definitely not the highlight of the set, and I would consider it to be more of a bonus. Next, we have the hand of God steering. We don't actually have a steering gear, but it is fairly easy to just turn the handlebars themselves. The turning radius is not very good in this model, but that's okay since this is a fully manual model. Here, we have the winch, which uses a basic ratchet mechanism. We extend it by simply pushing down on this lever here and pulling the winch. Unfortunately, it does not extend very far. The maximum distance is only about 18.5 inches or 47 centimeters. You cannot pull vehicles from a good distance, and I definitely wish that we got a longer string included. Still, the winch works pretty well, and it is definitely a better playing experience than what we got in the Jeep Wrangler. Of course, we also get a shock absorber on all 6 wheels, and the set cannot compress down, rather it can only swing side to side. Still, for such a small set, the suspension is very impressive, especially with the way it is connected. Live axles would have been a lot more difficult to implement in a more affordable Technic set. This model has impeccable functions, but what about the aesthetics? I greatly appreciate the black and orange color scheme. The details are captured quite well. I like the fenders on the sides and the pretty good selection of panels. We still get blue pins on black panels here, but that's not a major issue. The model looks great, but it's certainly not a display piece. LEGO Technic should primarily be about functionality, and for an $80 set, it's nearly perfect. This set is just packed with so many unique mechanisms, play features, the awesome parts, and much more, and you get all that for only $80. Is this set really the single greatest one out of 2022? Well, to properly answer that, let's take a look at some of the pros as well as the cons of the set. For the advantages, we have the impeccable functions for only $80, which brings me to my second point. This set probably has the best value out of any Technic set in the past couple of years. For only $80, you get so much, and you also get good aesthetics, good functionality, a good amount of parts, and all these pieces are very desirable because you get 6 shock absorbers, 6 Jeep Wrangler tires, a working transmission, and so much more. But what about the cons of this set? Well, of course, we have the short winch. I do wish it were a little bit longer, so I'll definitely be modifying this set just a little bit so that way I can add a longer winch. And my second con with this set is that I do wish it had a distribution gearbox as opposed to a transmission. Transmissions are not very playable. They do show off the speed variation in the engine, but nothing really much beyond that. I do wish that we got a distribution gearbox and, you had one knob to spin, and you could either control the dumping function or switch it between the winch. That would be a more playable feature in my opinion, and of course with that you could also upgrade it with power functions, maybe using the powered up accessory box you could upgrade this model. But besides that, I really have no complaints with the model. It is so functional, it is a perfect representation of what all LEGO Technic sets should be like. For under $100, by simply getting this one set, you can experience pretty much all of LEGO Technic. You get suspension, you get a gearbox, you get a winch, you get so many of these incredible mechanisms. So whether you're just starting out with LEGO Technic or you're very experienced like me, I highly recommend buying this set. This set will satisfy every fan out there. I also want to give a massive shout out to Ethan Bates 26 on Instagram for sending me the March Technic sets very early, so thank you very much. And if you would like to see my review of the LEGO Technic app control transformation vehicle, then click on the video right over here. This is your Unbrick Me here, and I'll see you in the next one.